Within the DC universe, there exists a place where decline cannot simply be undone. It is known as the Lazarus Pit. Throughout the Batman canon, this pit carries a remarkable promise. A body that has been weakened by injury, age, or even the edge of death itself can descend beneath its glowing waters and emerge renewed. Strength returns, age recedes, life appears to begin again. It is one of the most striking ideas within the broader mythology of the DC universe, not merely because of what it does, but because of what it represents. The Lazarus Pit embodies a simple belief that decline does not have to be permanent. This pit, which often belongs to Ra's al Ghul, becomes a tool for escaping the limits of time itself. When Ra's senses his body beginning to fail, he does not slow down, nor does he adapt to reality aging. Instead, he descends into the pit, disappears beneath the surface, and emerges restored. This cycle can begin again. In the DC narrative, this ability is both, seductive and dangerous. The pit restores life, yet those who emerge from it are often altered in subtle and unsettling ways. The restoration comes at a cost. But the fascination with the Lazarus Pit lies in how familiar its promise feels, because the idea that decline should be reversible is not confined to the pages of a comic book, a movie, or a show. It's deeply embedded within our own cultural imagination. When we talk about health, aging, and illness, the stories that receive the most attention are almost always stories of restoration. We celebrate the breakthroughs that reverse a disease. We celebrate the treatment that returns someone to the life they had before something went wrong. The moment of restoration becomes the emotional climax of the narrative. These stories, though, matter, and advances in medicine have achieved extraordinary things, yet they always shape the expectations that quietly influence how our system develops. When a culture becomes deeply invested in the belief that decline will eventually be reversed, it begins to organize itself around that possibility. Research priorities, they gravitate towards the search for cures. Public attention focuses on breakthroughs. Hope becomes closely tied to the idea that the original state of the body can be recovered. What receives far less attention is the more difficult work of learning how to live with change. The reality is that many forms of decline, simply can't be undone. Aging alters our bodies in ways that no technology can entirely reverse. Illness can reshape lives in ways that cannot be reset to a moment in time. And when restoration proves impossible, the limitations of our systems begin to emerge. Systems designed with the expectation of cure are often less prepared to support long-term adaptation. Families frequently find themselves carrying responsibilities that institutions were never designed to absorb. Support networks can become fragmented and care structures struggle to keep pace with the realities people are living through. This is not necessarily because compassion is absent. Instead, it's often because the cultural story guiding those systems are placing their faith somewhere else. That faith is the possibility of reversal, an instantaneous return to a prior form, something we aspire to live like, something we want to have ourselves, a way we used to live, a form we used to look like, the abilities we used to have. The Lazarus Pit reveals this story in the most dramatic form. In the DC universe, decline never has to be endured for long. The problem disappears beneath the water and the hero emerges restored. But we know this. Real societies do not have a Lazarus Pit. What we have instead is the far more demanding challenge of building systems capable of supporting lives that change over time. That means designing environments that adapt to the shifting realities rather than assuming those realities will eventually just reset. In other words, it means learning to value dignity, stability, and belonging even when restoration is not possible. Seen in this light, the Lazarus Pit becomes more than a narrative device. It becomes a mirror for our society, for our own stigmas and perceptions of aging and decline. It reflects the cultural instinct that many of us share, the hope that decline can be undone. Yet, the real test of society may not lie in its ability to reverse decline. It may lie in whether it knows how to respond structurally, compassionately, and intelligently when decline cannot be reversed at all.